Soulmate alert, they've been fighting their feelings, but now they're about to make a move you never expected. My beloved child, stop scrolling for a moment, because this message may touch the exact place in your heart you have been trying to hide. Someone who has been fighting their feelings for you may finally be reaching the point where silence is becoming harder than confession, distance is becoming harder than closeness, and pretending they do not care is becoming harder than admitting the truth. They may have tried to move forward, they may have tried to distract themselves, and they may have convinced everyone around them that they were completely fine, but deep inside, something keeps pulling their thoughts back toward you. And now, my beloved child, the energy of this story is changing. The person who once held everything inside may be getting ready to make a move you never expected. Maybe it will begin with a simple message. Maybe it will begin with a sudden appearance. Maybe it will begin with an apology. Maybe it will begin with a conversation they have been rehearsing in their mind for longer than you realize. But whatever happens, remember this from the beginning. You do not need to chase them, you do not need to force a reunion, and you do not need to prove that you are worthy of being chosen. If they truly want to come closer, they must take responsibility for taking that step. My beloved child, there is a difference between someone who misses you because they are lonely and someone who has genuinely reflected on what you meant to them. There is a difference between someone who wants temporary comfort and someone who is ready to build something real. So listen to this message with an open heart, but also with a wise heart. Something may be changing, but your peace should never depend on someone else's decision. My beloved child, perhaps this person has been fighting their feelings for a very long time. They may have told themselves that the connection was over. They may have tried to convince themselves that they were stronger without you. They may have believed that if they stayed busy enough, met enough people, focused enough on work, or distracted themselves enough, the feelings would disappear. But feelings do not always disappear simply because someone refuses to acknowledge them. Sometimes they become quieter for a while, only to return when the distractions stop. And perhaps that is what has happened. Perhaps the nights have become different. Perhaps the quiet moments have become louder. Perhaps memories that once seemed insignificant are suddenly carrying emotional weight. Perhaps they have begun remembering the little things about you that they never thought they would miss. Your voice. Your smile. Your way of asking questions. Your patience. Your sense of humor. Your presence during difficult moments. The way you understood things they never explained. My beloved child, sometimes someone does not realize the value of a connection until they experience life without it. They may have thought your presence was ordinary because it was familiar. But after distance entered the story, the ordinary became precious. They may have realized that not everyone gives the same kind of attention. Not everyone listens the same way. Not everyone remembers the details. Not everyone makes them feel understood. Not everyone creates the same emotional comfort. And that realization can become difficult to ignore. My beloved child, perhaps they have tried to compare other people to you. Maybe they did not intentionally mean to, but their mind did it anyway. Someone laughs differently. Someone communicates differently. Someone responds differently. Someone does not understand them the way you did. And slowly they begin to realize that what they had with you was not easily duplicated. But remember, my beloved child, being difficult to replace is not the goal. The goal is to be loved in a healthy, honest, mutual way. You do not need to become someone's regret. You deserve to become someone's conscious choice. My beloved child, perhaps that is why they are fighting themselves right now. Part of them wants to reach out, while another part says, stay away. Part of them wants to hear your voice, while another part fears what you might say. Part of them wants to apologize, while another part is embarrassed by how much they regret their actions. Part of them wants to know whether you still care, while another part is terrified that you have completely moved on. This inner conflict can create silence. And silence does not always mean absence of emotion. Sometimes silence means too much emotion with too little courage. My beloved child, maybe they have opened your old messages. Maybe they have looked at old photographs. Maybe they have remembered conversations. Maybe they have revisited places connected to you. Maybe they have wondered what you are doing now. Maybe they have asked themselves whether you still think about them. Maybe they have wondered if you have met someone else. Maybe they have wondered if you would even answer if they reached out. These questions can become heavy. And the longer someone carries them, the harder it becomes to pretend nothing matters. My beloved child, perhaps the biggest thing stopping them is fear of rejection. They may think, what if they no longer want me? What if I hurt them too badly? What if they have healed? What if they have become happier without me? What if I reach out and discover that the door is closed? Those thoughts can be powerful. But if their feelings are genuine, eventually they may decide that not knowing is worse than hearing the truth. And that may be when the unexpected move happens. My beloved child, perhaps they will send a message that appears simple on the surface. Something like, how have you been? Something casual. Something safe. Something that gives them an opportunity to see how you respond. Do not immediately assume that one message means everything has changed. But also do not ignore the possibility that it took courage for them to send it. Let the conversation reveal the intention. My beloved child, if they truly want something meaningful, they will eventually move beyond small talk. They will explain themselves. They will acknowledge the distance. They will discuss what happened. They will tell you what they have learned. They will ask how you feel. They will not simply expect you to forget the past. My beloved child, you deserve that level of honesty. You deserve clarity. You deserve to know whether someone is coming back because they genuinely want to build or because they are simply missing the comfort of familiarity. Those are two very different things. My beloved child, perhaps they are finally learning that difference themselves. Maybe they once believed that missing you automatically meant they should return. Now they may understand that returning requires responsibility. It requires growth. It requires accountability. It requires a willingness to face uncomfortable conversations. It requires consistency. And that realization may be exactly why they have been moving slowly. My beloved child, maybe they have been preparing themselves emotionally. Perhaps they have been thinking about what they would say if they saw you. Perhaps they have imagined apologizing. Perhaps they have practiced explaining why they left. Perhaps they have wondered whether you would forgive them. Perhaps they have imagined holding your hand again. Perhaps they have imagined hearing you laugh again. These thoughts can be powerful, but they are still thoughts. The real test begins when action follows. My beloved child, never confuse imagination with commitment. Let action speak. Let consistency speak. Let time speak. If someone truly wants to rebuild something with you, you will not have to carry the entire relationship on your shoulders. They will participate. They will initiate. They will communicate. They will show up. My beloved child, perhaps you have spent enough time wondering what they feel. Now it is time to focus on what you feel. Do you still want them? Do you miss them? Do you trust them? Would you feel safe opening your heart again? Would you be willing to rebuild slowly? These questions matter more than trying to predict their every thought. My beloved child, perhaps you are afraid that if you stop thinking about them, you will somehow lose the possibility of reunion. But that is not how healthy connection works. If someone wants to come back, your constant anxiety is not what brings them back. Your peace is more valuable than your worry. Continue your life. Continue your goals. Continue your healing. Let whatever happens happen naturally. My beloved child, maybe they have noticed that you stopped chasing. Perhaps they expected you to reach out. Perhaps they thought you would eventually become tired of the silence and make the first move. But you did not. And now they may be realizing something important: you are capable of walking away. You are capable of living without them. You are capable of choosing yourself. And that realization can change the way someone sees you. Not because you are playing a game, but because your boundaries are becoming visible. My beloved child, your silence should not be used as manipulation. Your distance should not be used to make someone jealous. Your healing should not be a strategy. Do it for yourself. If they notice, that is their observation. If they return, that is their decision. Your responsibility remains the same: protect your peace. My beloved child, perhaps they have been looking for signs that you still care. They may have noticed your posts, your words, your changes, or your absence. But if they are serious, eventually they must stop searching for clues and simply communicate. You should not have to communicate through hints. Healthy relationships are built through honest conversations. My beloved child, maybe their unexpected move will be direct. Maybe they will say, "I need to talk to you." Maybe they will ask to meet. Maybe they will tell you that they have been thinking about everything. If that happens, do not panic. You do not have to know the answer immediately. Listen. Ask questions. Take your time. My beloved child, perhaps they will tell you that they were afraid. Maybe they were afraid of commitment. Maybe they were afraid of getting hurt. Maybe they were afraid of being vulnerable. Maybe they were afraid of losing control. Fear can explain someone's behavior, but remember, it does not erase the impact of that behavior. You can understand their fear while still acknowledging your own pain. My beloved child, if they are truly ready, they will understand that. They will not demand that you forget what happened simply because they have become emotional. They will respect your need for time. They will understand that trust is not rebuilt through one emotional conversation. Trust is rebuilt through repeated evidence. My beloved child, perhaps they are beginning to understand that now. Maybe they once believed that saying, "I miss you," would be enough. But now they realize they have to show you why coming back would be different. That is a much deeper realization. My beloved child, perhaps they have been watching their own behavior and realizing how much fear influenced them. Maybe they recognize that they ran when things became serious. Maybe they realize they pushed you away because they were afraid you would eventually leave them. Sometimes people sabotage what they most want because vulnerability feels dangerous. My beloved child, if that was their pattern, they must learn to confront it. You cannot heal their fear for them. You cannot reassure them endlessly. You cannot spend your life proving that you will not leave while they repeatedly create reasons for you to leave. Healthy love requires emotional responsibility from both people. My beloved child, perhaps this person is finally ready to take that responsibility. Maybe something happened in their life that forced them to grow. Maybe they experienced a loss. Maybe they watched someone else lose a meaningful relationship. Maybe they reached a personal milestone and realized they had no one to share it with. Maybe they experienced success and still felt empty. Maybe they discovered that achievements do not replace emotional connection. These moments can change someone's priorities. My beloved child, perhaps they have begun asking themselves what truly matters. And perhaps your name keeps appearing in that answer. But again, let their actions show you whether this realization is temporary or permanent. My beloved child, maybe they are not only missing you, maybe they are missing the person they were when they were around you. Perhaps they felt more open, more playful, more understood, more emotionally alive. They may realize that the connection brought out a part of themselves they lost after leaving. That can be powerful. But they must learn to create that version of themselves independently too. A healthy relationship should enhance who you are, not become the only source of your identity. My beloved child, perhaps they are learning that now. Maybe they have started working on themselves. Maybe they are becoming more communicative. Maybe they are becoming more patient. Maybe they are learning how to express emotions. Maybe they are learning to apologize without defensiveness. Maybe they are finally understanding that vulnerability is not weakness. These changes can be meaningful if they continue over time. My beloved child, if they return, do not ask only, "Do you still love me?" Ask, "What has changed?" That question can reveal more than any romantic statement. My beloved child, perhaps their answer will surprise you. Maybe they will say, "I finally realized I was running from something good." Maybe they will say, "I was afraid of being vulnerable." Maybe they will say, "I thought I could replace what we had, but I couldn't." Maybe they will say, "I didn't understand your value until I experienced your absence." Whatever they say, listen carefully. But also listen to what they do not say. Are they taking responsibility? Are they acknowledging your pain? Are they making promises they can actually keep? Are they willing to rebuild? These details matter. My beloved child, perhaps the unexpected move will be an apology without any demand attached. That can be powerful. Someone saying, "I am sorry, and I do not expect anything from you. I simply needed to take responsibility." That kind of apology shows maturity. If that happens, you can appreciate it without immediately reopening the relationship. My beloved child, forgiveness is not a contract. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. You can release anger without giving them access again. You can wish them healing without becoming part of their healing journey. That is your right. My beloved child, perhaps you will discover that your heart is softer than you expected. Maybe you will not feel the anger you once felt. Maybe you will feel compassion. Maybe you will realize that both of you were younger versions of yourselves. If that happens, do not judge yourself. Healing changes the way we see the past. My beloved child, perhaps they will discover the same thing. Maybe they now understand that the conflict was not the whole story. Maybe they remember the good. Maybe they understand that the connection had value even though it ended badly. That realization can lead to closure or reconciliation. Either outcome can be meaningful. My beloved child, perhaps the person who has been fighting their feelings is about to reach a breaking point. Not necessarily a dramatic emotional breakdown, but a point where hiding becomes exhausting. They may finally realize that they cannot keep living with unanswered questions. They may need to know whether there is still a possibility between you. That need for clarity may push them to act. My beloved child, if they act, remember that you are not required to match their emotional intensity. They may be emotional. You can remain calm. They may be nervous. You can take your time. They may say everything at once. You can process slowly. You are allowed to protect your emotional balance. My beloved child, perhaps they will ask you to meet privately. Maybe they want to explain what happened. If you choose to meet, choose an environment where you feel comfortable and safe. Keep the conversation grounded. Listen. Speak honestly. Do not let nostalgia make decisions for you. Nostalgia remembers the best moments and sometimes forgets the reasons things ended. My beloved child, remember the complete story. Remember the beautiful moments. Remember the difficult moments. Remember what you learned. Remember what you need now. That full picture will help you make a wise decision. My beloved child, perhaps they have changed. People can change. But change should not need to be announced constantly. It should become visible naturally. If they are truly different, you will eventually experience that difference. They will communicate differently. They will respond differently to conflict. They will respect your boundaries differently. They will handle disappointment differently. They will show consistency. My beloved child, perhaps that is the real move they are preparing to make, not simply returning, but returning differently. And that is much more important. My beloved child, maybe they have finally realized that you were not asking them to be perfect. You were asking them to be present. You were asking them to communicate. You were asking them to choose you with intention. You were asking them to stop running when emotions became difficult. Maybe they now understand that. My beloved child, perhaps they have been thinking about the moment they lost your trust. Maybe they wish they could go back and change it. But they cannot. The only thing they can do is show you that they learned from it. And that requires patience. My beloved child, perhaps they will say, I wish I had done things differently. You may feel tempted to say, then why didn't you? But remember, you do not have to solve the past in one conversation. You can simply say what is true for you. I was hurt. I needed clarity. I felt abandoned. I lost trust. Honest words can create a foundation for a more mature conversation. My beloved child, perhaps they will finally listen without defending themselves. That could be one of the clearest signs of growth. Someone who can hear your pain without immediately explaining why you should not feel it is learning emotional maturity. My beloved child, perhaps they are learning that love is not about winning arguments. It is about understanding the person you care about. They may have once focused on being right. Now they may care more about being connected. That change can be significant. My beloved child, perhaps the reason they have been fighting their feelings is because admitting them would force them to confront their mistakes. If they admit they still care, they also have to admit that walking away hurt. They have to admit that pride may have controlled them. They have to admit that their decisions had consequences. That is difficult. But if they are willing to do it, they are growing. My beloved child, perhaps they have been waiting for the perfect moment. But there is no perfect moment. There is only courage or avoidance. If they choose courage, they may finally step forward. If they choose avoidance, they may remain silent. Either way, you do not need to chase. My beloved child, perhaps you have been wondering why they seem distant one day and curious the next. Emotional conflict can create inconsistent behavior. Someone can care deeply and still be afraid. But if they want a healthy connection, they eventually need to become consistent. You should not be